I like that this is a benchmark where they are starting to find people of peace
Exactly.
while in group.
Yes.
I think that would have been so helpful for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Welcome to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, a podcast about the language and tools that help to create a culture of intentional discipleship in your church. We are excited that you're joining us today and hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to the D3 Discipleship Podcast. My name is Ray, and alongside me is my co-host, Katie. Oh, I almost did it. I
wondered. I was waiting.
Katie Ketzner. Sorry. Okay. I almost said Katie Clevenger.
You'll figure it out one time in this life.
Someday.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be married for like 10 years. I'll probably still call you Katie Ketzner.
That's okay.
Well, that'd be good if I call you Katie Ketzner. Katie Clevenger. Yes.
I didn't even catch it that time.
So we have some friends. They got married probably 5 years ago, but we actually were talking to them last night, and as we were talking to them, I needed to send some photos to them. Mm-hmm. And so the wife, her name is still her maiden name in my phone here 5 years later. Yeah. So, yeah, well, maybe it'll never happen.
That's how I, like when I'm talking to someone who knows the same person, but they know them as maiden name.
Yes.
I'll still use maiden name.
There you go. Yeah.
But then I'll add married name, not to be offensive.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously.
For sure.
So maybe you can just be like, no.
Maybe I'll get it at some point. Maybe I'll get it. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If you are listening online and you would like to see us in person, I don't know, that maybe sounds weird. Yeah. But anyway.
Maybe not.
We are filming this particular podcast today.
Woo-hoo.
We are in our new studio, which if you go to YouTube and you look at it, it may look a little bare because we kind of scrape things together today. We're in process, right? But we were like, hey, you know what? We're going to do it today. We're going to get it rolling.
Stole some things from other people's offices to try to.
Yeah, so if you recognize something on the shelf over here, it's because we stole it from your office.
I'll put it back, I promise.
That's what you get for not being in the office on Friday morning. But anyway.
It's been a long week.
It has. Yeah, definitely. Lots going on.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, if you are watching, don't mind that my feet are probably 5 inches off the ground.
We are going to have to figure out something for Katie. Or maybe we'll have to switch chairs. I don't know. Maybe that'll work.
I'm hoping just to grow by the next week that we do this.
Possible.
I feel like a child.
Yes.
But it's okay.
Yes. Well, to remind you, the purpose of this podcast is to coach and equip you to lead your best in discipleship. And we are kind of walking through a series we're calling Back to School. Mm-hmm. And we are taking folks back to some of our very first episodes that we recorded 1.5 years ago and just kind of bringing back in the basics of D3. So what are we talking about today?
Well, let's go back to what we talked about last week.
Let's do that. I like that.
So last week we talked about, I know what it was, but I don't know how to see it out. We talked about how we have one common language and one common method.
Yes.
It's our equation.
It is.
One common language plus one common method equals uncommon change. Transformation.
There you go. Exactly right. Yes.
And that helped because we had our D3 kickoff.
We did.
Later in the week. And I helped my team almost win.
There you go.
Because of that question. I was like, I got this, guys.
Yeah. We threw everybody for a loop because we had 2 brand new tools that had a completely new look.
Yeah.
Or they're tools we've had, but we changed the look of them. And I don't know that anybody got all of them right. Or maybe 1 or 2 did.
Maybe one team did. I thought I was a shoo-in because I'm like, I'm on the podcast.
Yeah.
I basically know everything this point.
It's true. Yeah.
If you know me, I'm being so very sarcastic right now. But we kind of did not win. And especially the last one, the APES, new APES tool. I was like, I thought it was what is it called when you talk about like the different phases, like away from the church that you go? Like you have church friends and then you have
like our new city pathway. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
No. I'm talking about how like you have the people who go to the church, you have people who are connected to church and sometimes come, and then you have like but you need like these people to reach those people.
We'll edit that in right here. So it is called the
Relational distance
There it
tool.
is. Yeah.
That's what it's called.
That's what it's called.
But that's what I was thinking it was.
I got you. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I failed.
Cool.
And I felt miserable.
Well,
so thanks for that.
You're welcome.
You couldn't give me a heads up. Like, these are the questions.
You know, you were with everybody else in the room. Everybody else in the room, like, felt miserable, I think. Like, those little quiz things make you feel like, oh, gosh, I don't know any of this. But then we just wanted to encourage everybody.
I should have gotten a heads up because...
Well, that's true. You have a shoe in a little bit.
Should.
Yeah.
But guess not.
Well, all that to say, let's jump into today's episode.
Yeah. I assume music.
Yes.
Okay. I was like...
Yep.
So today we're talking about the D3 pathway. And I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's the pathway that we used in D3
right.
to go from, getting someone in your group all the way to deploying them and letting them make disciples of their own.
Right.
So we're going to be talking about what that looks like, the benchmarks, kind of, how Jesus exemplified this.
Exactly right.
And so...
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks is break down each of those phases, if you will, which you're going to hear more of that here in just the next few minutes. But we're going to break down each of those phases over the next couple of weeks a little more in depth. So we're not going to get super in depth on the phases and the benchmarks today, but we are going to give you kind of a 30,000-foot view, if you will, of our pathway and the steps that are in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first step is P1.
Yes.
And P1 is called...
Stories.
Yeah. It's just basically the phase where you are getting your people of peace in and you're kind of getting to know each other as a group and hanging out, maybe doing some Bible studies. And then towards the end of that, once you kind of start building the relationship, you share your stories. You
share your story. Yep. And you share, so not every little last detail of your life, but you do share the benchmarks, is kind of how we like to say it, the benchmarks of your life and kind of what has gotten you to where you are now. And so some significant things along those lines would be like the family you grew up in. Are you, what was like your education? Are you married? Do you have kids? Like all of those different things. And then even kind of your workplace and how you got to where you are today. So that's kind of the first step. And again, it's the purpose of this particular phase is so that everybody can get to know each other. Yeah.
I feel like when I did it, I love, if I weren't doing what I do now.
Yeah.
Or if I didn't teach, I would have wanted to be some kind of like psychologist.
Oh.
Because I love like introspect stuff and like, why do I do the things that I do?
Yeah.
Like, why do you do the things you do?
Yes, exactly.
But, like when I shared my story, like thinking of it in that frame, like, why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm here for transformation.
Right.
Of some kind.
Yep.
So what are some key things that my leaders might need to know to help me get to that point? But I understand that I'm probably not the norm in that.
No, that's
I don't
good.
know.
Yeah.
But if you are like me, that could be helpful to your leaders to help you grow even more quickly.
Right.
Like
for sure.
You know what you're struggling with. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you do.
I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very clear. It was very clear. But, yeah, I don't know if that is helpful.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful.
Or I'm just a very strange person.
No, I think that's great. And I would also say another tip for like phase one is that you share the fullness of your story, right? So we talk about transparency, vulnerability, like those things are key to sharing your story. And then as we've said before, leaders should go first. Leaders should give the example of how to share your story. Yeah. And as they do, they also should be vulnerable and transparent so that you get a taste of how to do it. Right?
Yeah. So, and benchmarks, like you said. Yeah. I mean, we don't need to know what you said in third grade on Tuesday of September.
Right. Yes.
Unless
that was a big event in your life.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
Yeah.
Or yes, please share.
We don't need to know that your brother broke his arm.
Right. Exactly right. Yes.
That could be irrelevant.
I brush my teeth every morning growing up.
Some people.
Great. Good for you. Yeah.
This is why I like people watching. Like some people will do that.
Yep.
And some people won't share enough.
That's right.
So
no, you're exactly right.
Share the right amount. People.
Yes. There you go. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So after phase one is our first benchmark. And so our benchmarks are kind of filters, if you will, to kind of assess your group and see where your group is. So this is important for our leaders, especially. And so our first benchmark is
abide.
Yes.
And the benchmarks are to see if you're ready to go to the next phase.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So abiding is our first benchmark.
Yep.
And it's very important.
Yes.
In this process, because honestly, the discipleship process is mainly like listening to what God is telling you.
Exactly right.
It's hearing and doing.
Yep.
So here you can't hear from God if you're not abiding.
There you go.
So it's this main thing in discipleship. So if you can't abide, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask the question, like, what does abiding mean? What does that look like? And I think the foundational piece of that is starting in God's word, right? I think there are other folks that can abide by spending time in worship and doing those different things. But at the same time, it's mainly spending time with the Lord in some capacity. Now, if you're 100% always like, well, I only hear from the Lord through worship music. Well, I believe, his scripture speaks to us the most, and that's the way that he speaks to us the most. And so it's kind of pointing people towards the word and, again, finding kind of a healthy rhythm of spending time in God's word, in addition to those other elements that come along to help us abide.
Yeah, because if you're just feeling him in music, well, you're only really feeling him through the words that other people are saying.
There you go.
Not him.
Yeah, exactly right. That's a great point. Yeah.
I mean, other people's words can help you.
Absolutely.
But they aren't the life source that you need.
There you go. Exactly right.
So I heard the other day, I don't know where we were at, but we were talking about abiding in D groups. And I had a real struggle getting my girls to abide in my last group.
Yeah.
And some of it I felt like was on me, like trying to get them to abide. But again, it's not your job to make these people do anything.
Right.
The Holy Spirit's job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just there to help facilitate that.
Right.
And like, I can only say you need to read your Bible so many different times before just enough is enough.
Right. Exactly right.
But I got some freedom in that because I've been struggling. I'm like, oh my gosh. But this is this is a get to.
Yeah. Totally.
Being in discipleship.
Absolutely.
And it's a privilege for these people to be in your group.
Right.
And it was eye-opening for me for someone to say, if they can't do the bare minimum of abiding, then maybe they don't need to be in your group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, again, you can't go far without abiding. So there's really no point to waste their time or your time.
There you go.
If they're not doing the bare minimum of abiding.
And when it's a have to, it's always like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can tell they don't want to be there. You can tell they don't want to do the homework, if you will. I'll put that in quotations. Like you can tell that it's I have to go to D group, or I have oh no, it should be a get to. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that helped.
Big sigh.
I'm gearing up for my next group.
Yes. Get it.
So
woo!
It's taken me a little bit to get to this point, but I'm getting ready.
You're going to do it. You got it.
I'm getting more excited about it.
You said you know everything earlier, so you're ready.
And remember, I said I was being very sarcastic.
That's awesome.
Let's emphasize that again.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, so after abiding, or the benchmark of abiding, we move into phase 2. And as you just mentioned a minute ago, the important piece of phase 2 is that the majority of our tools that we talk about in phase 2 are all based on hearing from the Lord.
Yeah.
And so hopefully your people are now abiding, they're in a regular rhythm, and then you move into phase 2, which is transformation. And this is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
So much fun.
So much fun. No, really. So phase 2 is really where the rubber hits the road. Stories are fun, hearing everybody's stories, hanging out, and then we're abiding, we're spending time in God's word, and we're sharing what the Lord's saying. And then we start really pressing into these things that are going on in people's lives and the things that the Lord is showing them through scripture. And we actually, so it's funny that we say that say it the way we just did, because this past week in my D group, we stepped into our first learning circle moment. And it was funny how quiet it got, right? And like people are going, oh man, and so, but my co-leader, Jake Drummond, and I, we shared like, hey, here's the deal, guys. Like, I know this maybe is crazy to think like this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of our discipling time. But at the same time, like, we don't want you to not share something because you might be afraid we're going to walk you through this, right? Or whatever. And so, but out of that, it was great. Like, the person that did it already submitted their plan to everybody. Like, he's ready to go. It's good stuff, right? But it was just funny how like, oh, hey, the tides have turned, And so, but that definitely begins to happen in phase 2.
Yeah. And the learning circle is like our most, I don't want to say basic tool, but it's the most used. Maybe.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. The Phillips screwdriver,
most common.
Right? Yeah.
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 And so in this transformation phase, you might hear of some issues that are your people are struggling with. And we have a lot of different tools that help certain areas of people's lives.
Right.
So if you are hearing something that rings, they might be having some identity problems, issues.
Yep.
Oh, we've got an identity tool that
exactly
you can pick up and then you can hit on.
Exactly right.
And then even from that, once you teach that, they might come up with something that they need to work on, and then you can go back to the circle, the learning circle,
exactly,
and then walk them through their plan. And they might have some marriage issues, so you can talk about the marriage square. Like these are tools for you to have in your belt,
right?
So when you pick up on these keywords that your people of peace are talking about, you can be like, got something.
I got my tool. I got the right tool.
Right.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Ready to do the work. Yeah. Yeah. And then as we move through transformation, we start to see, hopefully, transformation. We see change. And then from there, on the bottom right-hand corner, you know what we didn't mention at the very beginning of this is that our D3 pathway is a square, the shape.
Oh.
So there's that. But yeah, so just to clarify. We deal with a
lot of shapes.
We do deal with a lot of shapes, but like talking about the learning circle and stuff just reminded me, we didn't say it's a square. So it is a square. You're going to draw a square out on your paper. Phase 1 goes across the top, so the stories. Then the top right-hand corner is our abide. And then as you move down the right side of the square, that's transformation. That's phase 2. And then now we're at the bottom right-hand corner, and this is our next benchmark, right? And so this benchmark is the benchmark of the out.
The ouch.
Yes, the ouch. We have been calling it the ouch because we have not had or really had a good response from our groups of actually doing the out. So an out is that we're going to meet a physical need, and then also we're going to share the gospel as a group, as a discipling group. We're going to find somewhere to do that. And yeah.
But I think like now that we know that it is an ouch,
yes,
we are taking steps to rectify that.
Exactly right.
So
yeah,
I think we've got some plans in place to maybe help a foster care development.
Right. Yeah. So there's some individuals that have bought some property and they're actually building houses for foster care families. And then we're going to play a part in that of groups going and taking care of those foster families.
Which I love because it's helpful for everybody.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a win-win for sure. For sure. Yeah.
I like knowing, okay, we don't have to think too hard about this.
Yep.
Let's just go serve and spread the love of Jesus.
And we have a couple other organizational things that are happening from a global New City standpoint, if you will. So one of them is that we're looking at doing some nursing care or like nursing home care. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have opportunities to go in and do worship services or Bible studies in those places. So that'd be an awesome out for a D group to do. And then we're asking all of our campus leaders to also have campus outs as well that they can accomplish and a group can go do.
I like that it's a bigger variety.
Yeah.
Like kids and families and then elderly.
Yeah.
I like that you have choice.
Yes. And I think that's the biggest struggle with the out is that some folks get into it and they're like, well, I have this group of 5 people. We're all passionate about different things. Which direction do we go? What do we do? And so for us to say as an organization, hey, we have these particular outs for you to choose from helps maybe to go, well, we'll just jump on board with that and be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But
cool.
Yeah.
I like the direction that we're heading.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
So after you do your out, and let's say this, an out is not just a one-time thing. Like, here, let me take some hot dogs to a family and be done with this.
Yes. That might be a one-time thing.
It's been that way in the past.
They might be like, I don't want more hot dogs. But anyway, go ahead.
It's kind of been that way in the past, though. Like, what day are we going to do an out? Like, let's figure this out. Let's go clean someone's house and move on so we can go.
So we can check that box. Yep.
You can start. Yeah. You can start your out earlier than, after transformation. It doesn't have to be after everyone's transformed that you start.
Right.
You can start it earlier.
Yeah.
So let's just add that in, that this is not a one-time event, and it can be done more towards the beginning as well.
Yeah, and like we said with the abiding, this is kind of an assessment for your group. So if you've made it all the way through transformation and really you haven't done it out yet, now's the time.
Okay.
But yes, please start earlier and make it a rhythm more so than a one-time, hey, we did it. Yay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So. Yeah.
So after that benchmark, we move into P3, or the third phase, which is competency.
Yes.
And in competency, it's kind of a hard word for me to say. Did you hear me say it right?
Are you competent in competency?
Competency.
It's an exciting word. Competency. Yes.
So in this phase, you are now, these people in your group are kind of like peers.
Yes. Exactly right.
You're still a step above. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You're still a leader. You're still in charge here. But you are now teaching them how to do what you are doing.
Right.
So that way, in the near future, they can be deployed and do it for themselves.
Exactly right.
So we have a little bit of a process even for that.
Yes.
Because you don't just be like, hey, here's the tool.
Right.
Teach it and go.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Yeah, so this is the preparation phase for sending them out. So as you kind of said, we have shifted our relationship, if you will, with that person. So what I like to say is we've gone from face to face to shoulder to shoulder. So now we're like heading forward in the same direction. And so again, we've gone through transformation. We've learned the tools. We've seen the tools. The tools have been exercised, if you will, on us, right, as the group member. But now, as the leader, you're going to teach those folks those tools. And then they get an opportunity actually to reteach the tools just as though they were leading the group on that particular night. And so we have a couple different sheets on our website that allow you to kind of put a person for their tool and connect with their tool. And then from there, they're going to reteach that tool. So what that does for you as the leader is you're going to kind of watch how they teach, and then you're going to kind of evaluate at the end, like, hey, here's something you missed, or something you might say that you missed, or, hey, you added this thing, and I don't know that that's really relevant. But it could also be positive. Both of those were very negative. But like, it could also be very positive of like, man, you did a great job. I do love the verse that you added. That verse is not necessarily a requirement to that tool. But again, this is kind of how we protect our language and our methods, which we talked about in the last episode, right? And so you as the leader are watching, and then before we send them out, which is the next phase, we're kind of just double checking, right? And I think sometimes what happens is in churches is we coach somebody up, like, this is how you do this, and then we send them out, and it's like, you know what? We never really checked if they know what they're doing before they go. And this is the opportunity for us to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the benchmark to move out of that phase.
Yes.
I'm not going to say the word again. Out of that phase. And
what is that phase? Phase 3. What is that?
Competency.
There you go. Boom.
I just have to slow down. And
yeah, there you go.
Competency. I don't know.
Or you could say it so fast nobody... Competence. Okay, yeah.
So the benchmark moving out of that phase is starting to find people of peace.
Exactly right.
And I like this.
Yep.
I like this in regards to, how it used to be done
and
how we're doing it now.
Yeah.
I like that this is a benchmark where they are starting to find people of peace while in group.
Yes.
I think that would have been so helpful for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Just to have your leaders as sandboards even.
Yes.
To be like, okay, I am thinking of this person. And it's ultimately up to the spirit in that individual to know if they are people of peace. But having your leader there as a sandboard, like, what would you think of this? Mm-hmm. Like, this is what I'm feeling. Would you pray with me about it?
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yep.
Because even now I do that. Like I've, listen, I don't know. I still don't think I'm very good at this stuff.
What? No, you're good. You're always just hard on yourself. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I, like right now I'm looking for a leader to co-lead with.
Yeah.
And so I went to my spiritual mama and friend.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay, here's some people that I could potentially lead with that maybe I'm praying about. And, you know, she was able to see like, okay, well, this person, it might be a little difficult just personality wise.
Yeah.
I think my mentor, she's able to see things that I'm not able to see and stuff like that personality. I'm just like, okay, I found a person, let's go.
Yeah.
But she's able to look down and be like, this could potentially be a problem just because of how you both act.
Headbutt in there. Yeah. Or whatever.
So I like that we're doing this in group, a safe space to live and learn and grow.
Yeah. So like the fun thing is you're taking that opportunity to get to know those people in group, but also like it kind of expedites a little bit of you starting in your next group, because what used to happen is people would get out of their group. They'd spend 6 months or so searching for people of peace or even a co-leader and different things like that. And then it was like, oh, by the time they got around to leading again, it was like, I'm just kind of exhausted, like, or too much time has passed. And then, hey, I'm not going to step into that. And so the encouragement is, hey, we hope that you will begin to look for people of peace, so that then once you're deployed and you're sent out, like, let's get going again, you know? So,
okay. So if we're talking about people of peace, where do we start talking about co-leaders then?
Yeah. So I think sometimes what we tend to see is that your co-leader could perhaps come out of your group that you're in. So like the people in your discipling group, you could partner up with one of them and say, hey, who are your people of peace? Who are my people of peace? And let's kind of see what that looks like.
So that could be happening at the same time that you're trying to find your people of peace.
Yeah. And the other, another trend I think that we kind of see is that the two leaders will break off and take somebody in their group and then lead a group again. Mm-hmm. That's another trend. # trending.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, we are so cool. Man, that's cap, no bet, or whatever. I don't know what the kids say these days. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. I have a teenager. There's all these new weird words that I had to learn.
I was going to say either you're crazy or I'm old, because I don't know that one.
Yeah. So like, well, this could be a whole podcast, really. Like, parents, here's some language, right? So like,
tell me what that means.
Yeah. So no bet is like, yeah, cool. Let's do it.
No bet?
No bet.
I would think no bet meant no.
Yeah. No, it's like, yeah.
Have they ever played cards before?
All right.
I don't.
Yeah. And then there's several others that I don't know. Like they'll say, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Cool. I'm old.
This should be another podcast because I'm very interested.
Right.
I think many people would listen to that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Words you need to know for your teenage kids.
The most downloaded podcast of them all.
That's right. Might be. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh. All right. We're back. Wow. Rookie mistake, I guess. I don't know. We had our video actually cut off, and we were like almost done.
We were.
Yeah.
And maybe
here we are.
We're not. Listen, we did not have things cut off.
Yeah.
Ray had things.
Oh, ouch. Yeah. So actually, I'm going to pass blame as well. Like this is an Adam blamed Eve, Eve blamed, the snake kind of moment.
Like, I'm not Eve or the snake.
I'm blaming the camera.
Bad camera.
Yep. The camera has a time limit, or actually two things. Camera has a time limit, and the SD card had too much information. So it just said, I'm done. I'm out.
A series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. So we're back. Just in time.
For the last phase. P4.
Phase 4. Which is deployment. But apparently I can't talk now. So, we were going smooth, and then I'm saying...
A little Scottish there.
Deployment. But yeah, I don't know.
Sound like a leprechaun.
Yeah. So phase 4 is deployment, and the idea here is that you are now sending out your group, and hopefully they are going to do it again, what they just learned to do, and what you just taught them over the past 8 to 12 months. And then from there, we actually shared at our D3 leaders meeting last week that there's actually a couple steps you can take out of deployment, right? So you can lead another D group, or we would love for you to lead a city group, or you can lead a ministry team. So if you're leading others at New City, we prefer that you have been deployed and been through discipleship. And then the fourth one was that you would actually go and plant a neighborhood or start a neighborhood. So Pete Kerwin, who is our neighborhoods pastor, which is kind of a micro-church movement that we're hoping to express across Kansas City, he would love if you came to him and said, I'm a deployed leader and I want to lead a neighborhood. Like, he would probably fall to his knees and say, I love you. So, but that's deployment. And then that would be kind of the extent of the pathway, wrapping it up.
Well, and you brought that up during the kickoff last week.
Yep.
And I heard a lot of different, I don't know if a few different people that I talked to.
Yep.
They liked the fact that we have different ways that we can go once we're finishing up and being deployed. I am kind of excited about maybe the city group aspect of it. Yeah. Because it's like a soft launch kind of thing. Like,
there you go.
Where you can, if you still need to find people of peace, you can get to know them. It's like that dating phase. Get to know them without the commitment.
Yeah.
And, get back into the leading of things, because I've been out of leading for just a little bit.
Nah.
And
it's okay.
I think that
You've been podcasting. It's okay. Yeah.
I think that would be an easy way to step back into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Without just like jumping off the deep end.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great testing ground. City groups are a great testing ground for those people of peace, right? Getting to know them. I mean, that's what you just said, but I'm going to say it again.
And it's good to see their commitment level before you invite them into a group.
Yeah. So real quick before we close, let me go around the square real quick. And why do we do it the way we do it, right? Well, the reason we do it the way we do it, or the way that we've created this pathway, is that, this is what we see Jesus do. So that's pretty cool. And that's what we want to imitate. And so with our stories phase, there's a point there where Jesus says, come and follow me, to his disciples, right? And then they step into that relationship with him, walk along with him, spend the time with him. Then there's a point in his ministry where he says, I need you to come and die. And so, and we're like, oh, wow, that's what I want to be a part of. But he's asking them to die to self, right? And to follow him more deeply than they already were. And so that's where transformation comes in, that phase 2. So on the inside of your square, if you were writing this out, at the top part of the square, you would write, come and follow. And then on the right side, you would write, come and die. And then there's a point in Jesus' ministry with his disciples where he says, you are no longer my slaves or my servants, but you are my friend, right? And so again, that's that where we move from face to face to shoulder, and we're doing ministry together. That's the competency phase. So we would write on the inside of that square, fellowship. And then the final one is that he tells us in Matthew 28, go and make disciples. If you're listening to this, you need to go to the YouTube channel to see the movements that Katie just did with each of those.
I'm trying to be a Vanna White.
That's right. Yeah, she's Vanna Whiting here. And so, but the next, again, would be, the deployment and the sending out would be that Matthew 28, go and make more disciples. And so that's where we see, and kind of how we've created our pathway, is this is how Jesus did it and what he said. So, yeah.
That's our goal.
There you go.
Especially at New City.
Yeah.
Inspiring you to trust in and live like Jesus.
That's right. And make disciples that make disciples that make disciples.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah. There you go. Cool.
Yeah.
You want to wrap us up?
Yeah. It's been a great first day. Well, not our first day back, but our first day back videoing it.
Yeah. We learned some things.
Yeah.
Like,
but we are.
We need a new camera. No,
but we're still excited to be kicking off our new season of this podcast, and with the new things like new video sets and all of that, and new conversations, new guests. We're just ready for our new season,
right?
And right now, just keeping it basic and just reminding ourselves about it.
No bet.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, so that's all the time we have today on our podcast. If you have any questions or comments or, anything that you would like to hear from this podcast, you can email our new email.
New email.
And Ray's going to share that.
Oh, it is d3info@newcitychurch.com.
I could have guessed, but, I'm still new at that.
Well, that's all right. Yeah. We want them to go to the right website. So, or the email. So, but if you do have any questions, d3info@newcitychurch.com. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's what I was going to say.
Oh.
Yeah. So like if you're watching this on YouTube, we totally want you to subscribe. And there's like a saying that all YouTubers say, I don't know what it is. Oh, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that fun stuff.
Follow,
yeah. Right? So you'll get notifications when we subscribe.
Hit the notifications bell? That's a thing?
No cap.
Stop. You'd have to stop that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, with that, we will see you next time on the D3 Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that today's information was helpful and useful for your discipling journey. We would like to encourage you to subscribe, review, and share on social media. If you would like more information, check out d3pathway.com.